I know that we hear this all the time, but I need you guys to know I really thought my life was going to be so over, that everything was going to crumble around me and that I would never live a good life, but I still did what I did because I felt that much conviction to get a divorce. My ex is now married with 2 beautiful kids. He's very, very happy. I went through a pretty bad relationship after
Good
that.
for him.
Kind of abusive. I got out of that and I wouldn't.
So, you can't make this shit up, baby. You left the husband to then get into an abusive relationship. I was married and divorced by 22 years old. Let's get active.
I got married and divorced in my early 20s. I got married when I was 19 to my first boyfriend I'd ever had. We started dating when I was like 17 or 18. And then a couple years later, we got not married, which is also known as divorce. I literally never talk about this because I never speak publicly about it. Honestly, it's been such a hard thing to ever speak about. But I remember feeling really lonely through that process. And just in case there's one other girl out there who can relate, I will share a little bit. The person I married was an amazing man. He was great to me. We were really, really young when we got married. We got married during my parents getting a divorce, and I really wanted to make a stable family of my own. Nobody forced me to get married. If anything, people were like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Years later, I ended up getting a divorce because I woke up one day and I realized I'm best friends with this person, I'm roommates with this person, I'm co-workers with this person. We were youth pastors at the time, which I really, really hated.
Youth pastors?
For another story.
Now, for context, her father's a gentleman by the name of Israel Houghton, who is described as being an American contemporary Christian music singer, songwriter, producer. Important context when you consider her being a youth pastor. Essentially, this young lady was raised in the church. Pay attention. By the way, it's so crazy to me that these young ladies can just wake up out the blue one day and be like, yeah, you know them vows that we took in front of God? Never mind those. Like, new year, new me, baby.
Everyone said that being a youth pastor was my calling, and I'm pretty sure it was a prank call. But I remember thinking,
More on that later.
I don't want to keep wasting this man's time. Specifically remember
you don't
getting
waste
the
his time.
thought and hearing myself say, I'm married to someone else's husband. The sooner I let him go, the sooner that he can start that process with the person he really should be with, who's going to love him the way he deserves. I, growing up, thought that I was going to be like breaking the generational curse of divorce.
She destroyed this young man.
Divorce. My parents are divorced. When I got married, a lot of people were like, you're going to break this generational curse of divorce and it's going to be amazing. So then when I wanted to get a divorce, I was like, but what about the generational curse I'm supposed to break?
What happened was that you wanted the speed run being a failure through your lust of the streets. 10 years after deciding to divorce your husband, you still out here posting thirst traps. Mind you, this is like a preacher's daughter. Posting thirst traps up on her Instagram. Gentlemen, you must be careful because although they're involved in the church, they are youth pastors, daughters of pastors. That has nothing to do with what they really want out of life. And if what they want is to center themselves around attention seeking and validation, you cannot turn or transition into a housewife. For their life centers around attention seeking and flaunting their sexuality through images, through garnering likes and centered around attention, and then will come up to TikTok years later, speaking as if they just needed to learn from the situation to just find who they really are. Meanwhile, they destroyed their own family. Meanwhile, never having sympathy for the heartache and turmoil that she put that poor man through. All that's left now is her saying that this was all part of God's will.
Also, I was very depressed at the time, but I had this feeling of maybe I'm supposed to break the generational curse of staying married far decades longer than you should, and then having people and yourself start over 20, 30 years down the road, especially when there's kids involved or ministries involved or all these things that you've built. I'm not saying this because I'm telling you, go get divorced if you have had a fight with your husband and you're like, let me divorce this man. But I remember going through the loneliest time of my life when that was happening. I was so embarrassed. I was so ashamed. I lost all of my friends, and basically my life had to start over from scratch, especially because I worked in ministry. Like, life was over. My life is over. God is done with me. Even though I knew that wasn't completely true. I still felt like, well, my life won't be as good as it would have been if I had stayed married. Even though I really felt strongly that this was not the right situation for me. I remember people telling me, you know, I'm not in the will of God anymore. We're going to be as happy as God would have intended me to be if I made this decision. I told a very close friend of mine who was a pastor, hey, I have to choose myself in this moment. I know that sounds corny, but like, if I don't do this, there's not going to be a Mariah to even be mad at. Like, I am at the end of my rope. I really need to figure this stuff out on my own. And that person said to me, you know, we don't choose ourselves. We don't live for ourselves. We live for our husbands and God. I'm sure he meant the best that he could, that those people meant that in a good way. I don't know. But let me tell you something. No matter what's going on in your life, whether you're getting married, getting divorced, having a baby, watching your babies grow up, going through a big change in life, or you're grieving or whatever, there's nothing we can do to mess up the grace of God. There's nothing we can do to extract ourselves from the love of God. And
she just did it, baby. She just did it, baby.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Oh, it's crazy. If they're not hiding behind the pulpit itself, then they say that it was God's will to get married and then to leave your husband, to divorce your husband, to initiate that divorce. Not when there's domestic violence, not when he has a lengthy as hell jail sentence, not when he's brain dead or something, you know, not any ridiculous circumstances. Just when, you know, I want to just show my ass cheek up on TikTok. I can't quite do that while I'm in a marriage. And that's just what I want to do. He's holding me back from my blessings from God. God said, thou art show tip of areola for everyone to judge.
Shame. Shame.
Walk her in the quarter.
Shame.
For she is unworthy. For she is a harlot.
Shame.
Shameful. Here is your fruit on display for all to see when Jesus returns. He will not tolerate this. You can cause men to stumble and you think it is no big deal, but it's what you've been taught. It is so incredible to me to watch these lovely young ladies virtue signal years later all over the internet as if the value of their life lesson over or out prioritizes the calamity that they cause within their life, their relationship, and as well as that man's life.
I know that we hear this all the time, but I need you guys to know I really thought my life was going to be so over, that everything was going to crumble around me and that I would never live a good life. But I still did what I did because I felt that much conviction to get a divorce. My ex is now married with 2 beautiful kids. He's very, very happy. I went through a pretty bad relationship after that. Good for him. Kind of abusive. I got out of that and I wouldn't.
So you can't make this shit up, baby. You left the husband to then get into an abusive relationship. If that's not Jesus telling you that you messed up, I don't know what is. For him, God gave him a better version of you, and he has kids. And for you, ass whipping. Listen, and being beat up is not a laughing matter, but I often find that these women will only tell one side of the story, i.e. he was physically abusive. Meanwhile, yo ass was too. But the story sounds better with the former, and plus it sells more tickets to your TikTok following.
Trade any of it for the world because that experience made me who I am. Now I look around.
Of course you wouldn't trade it.
In New York City, dating the most wonderful man in the world. I am not depressed. I have hope.
Here comes the coat.
I know Jesus loves me. I'm living the life that baby me would have dreamed of and wouldn't even believe I'm living. The career that I love and that I'm passionate about. I'm not saying that this is because I got a divorce. I'm saying that even with all that I went through and all the things people thought would be the end of me, I thought would be the end of me, God has still blessed me. He's kept me. He's given me the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful life. And there was a time I never would have thought I would even make it past the age of 24. So the fact I'm here is such a blessing. And no matter what you're going through, I just want you to know that you're loved and you cannot outrun the grace of God, the love of God. And no matter what's going on, you're never alone and it'll always, always, always work out for the good of those who love him.
Ugh. Now, of course, underneath her comment section, there is nothing but praise, but I had to go on the other side of the internet to find something a bit different. Not gonna lie, she did her ex a favor and blessed him by divorcing him. My God, she's irritating and nauseating to listen to. I'm surprised any guy can stomach her nonsense. Now they telling themselves that God is telling them to break their marriage vows. LOL. Listen, and it's no surprise, the level and amount of cope that you'll see in these forever unaccountable people is something insane. It's not something that people that are actually progressing in life ever do, because they must deal with the mistakes that they made to sufficiently learn from them. In summary, she left a pastor to be abused and live in sin. To all the women asking men why men don't attend single event at churches, well, this is your exhibit A. Oh, I love this one right here. She didn't want to be married. She just wanted the wedding. The streets were tapping her on the shoulder at the altar. Woo! The way these people use God to contradict exactly what God has said is the blasphemy mentioned in the Bible. It's wacky, tacky. She left her husband because she wanted to be on the street swiping right and left on dating apps. It's not a coincidence that she ended up in a toxic relationship afterwards, because that's what she really wanted. In fact, the guy was probably lined up before she got married. Listen, it's so crazy. Like, there'd be dating coaches that would get flack back into the day because they would say that you have to enter a degree of toxicity within these relationships because the toxicity is a degree of normalcy within these young ladies' lives. But it's so crazy that they will make a decision to deselect the stable situation to select that which was not the best option for her anyway. But to package it all up and put a little pretty bow on it that says that it was God's will is insane. Guys, drop me your comments down below. What is it that you think about this content right here? And I will see you guys soon. Last but not least, join my men's self-development community. We going absolutely up. If you have a focus on financial education, make sure that you join. That's going to be the brunt of the content to hit my community throughout the rest of 2025. I want to ensure that you guys have the wealth mindset necessary to make the best decisions now in lieu of making mistakes later. They ain't teaching this ish in classrooms, so make sure you click that link, beam up, and I will see you guys soon. Until next time, YouTube. Peace.